Okay, so now we're in the first section on what are classes, and now we're going to start breaking this down a little bit for you. I hope you took the time to look at the video on UMLs. It's definitely going to help you understand classes, also how to visualize, how to create them and write them, and how to really set up your flow. I've already introduced you to pseudocode, so this is just another tool to add to your tool belt to help you better understand the concepts. Again, I highly recommend that you looked at that video and follow along with it, so that as I introduce these new concepts in this particular chapter, it's going to help it make sense. Okay, so if you're new to this channel and you would like to follow along with the curriculum, the link is in the description. Let's get into it. What are classes? Recall that classes are data structures that hold many values, which consist of properties and methods. We often need to create many objects of the same type. To do this in an efficient way, we define a class, which allows us to set up the general structure for an object. We can then reuse that structure to build multiple objects. These objects all have the same set of keys, but the values assigned to each key will vary. Let's revisit the animal astronauts from earlier exercises to see how this works. An astronaut object. When we create an object to hold an astronaut's data, it might look something like this. So here is the object of Fox, and we have the name key and the value Fox, which is the string. Age 7 is a number, mass 12 is a number, and then we have this method right here, which we call the catchphrase, which is the key, and it's holding a function, an anonymous function. And so here we console.log in the template literal, and we pass it the actual variable or the object with the property .name. So we will get the name is Fox age, years old, and has a mass of Fox mass kilograms. So here's the output for both of these console.logs. Fox is 7 years old and has a mass of 12 kilograms. Fox says launch code rocks. And as you can see right here, we're passing in a method, which we're passing it in 3 times. So what's in the method? The phrase. It loops over. So again, this is one of those things that we can write a pseudocode for and reverse engineer this so we can understand how this is being used. Now, the Fox object contains all the data and functions for the astronauts named Fox. Of course, we have multiple astronauts on our team. To store data for each one, we will need to copy the structure for Fox multiple times and then change the values to suit each crew member. This is inefficient and repetitive. By letting us define our own classes, JavaScript provides a better way to create multiple similar objects. Remember, I said earlier, there are no classes in JavaScript technically. So this is what we call syntactic sugar, meaning that we're able to make it appear to be a class, but once it's compiled down or transpiled down, it's going to transpile down to JavaScript. But notice here, if you watch the video about UML by Lucidchart, which is very helpful, we used an astronaut class, which we will call this the parent class, and it's holding the structure for an astronaut object. The name, which is a string, age, number, mass, number, catchphrase, a function. And we're able to pass it down to each one of these children. Now, these are the attributes right here. name, age, and catchphrase. Here, if I want to go ahead and assign it the actual values that I want, I'm going to assign it a string, a number, and then a function. And what do I say here? I'm going to say Fox, age 7, 12 is the mass, and the catchphrase council log LC rocks. That's all I need to pass into that particular function, because the function was already created up here, which gives me the catchphrase, which phrase is launch code, and then phrase plus rock. And because we're using a compound operator, it's adding to it 3 times when I pass in the argument. And so if I want to just change that phrase, all I got to do is give it a different council.log. That's the only thing I have to change. I don't have to change anything else. This makes it more efficient. So if you went through the Lucid Code video and you actually got an account, this is what it will look like here. This is one of the diagrams. This is the class diagram right here. This class, I will put my name right here so I can say the astronauts, and then I give the attributes. What are the attributes? The attributes are the key value pairs. It's an object, so I will have an object and I will pass in those key value pairs, where I will say here I need the value to the key to be name, and then I want to make it a string, and I just put the word string. I don't have to type out the actual value I want, but I know I want it to be a string, or I want it to be a number, which I will give this the primitive values or the primitive data types. And down here are the operations that I want to perform on it. This is where I will add my functions and my methods. So I hope you watched that video, because it's definitely helpful. So that's the end of this particular section. Now, again, we're going to keep adding more layers here. Remember, the more you do, the more you improve. See you in the next section.